Today we will study nationalism in India. Now, what is nationalism? Nationalism is the feeling of oneness among the people living in a territory. That means the feeling of belongingness, the feeling of understanding that we all belong to the same country with the same background is known as nationalism. The First World War broke out in 1914. How did the First World War help in the growth of nationalism in India? Actually, there were five main reasons why the people of India, have had this kind of feeling that we belong to the same country and now we need independence. The British imposed war expenditure on India. For fighting in the First World War, they need money, and this they was extracting from our country by increasing taxes on us. They imposed custom duties and they introduced income tax on us. The prices of essential goods were doubled now in this war period in India. There were forced recruitment in the British Indian Army. They forced us to be the part of British Indian Army without our will. The crops in that particular era were failed, and because of that there was shortage of food material. That is the fifth problem of our country at that time, was that there was an influenza epidemic which was spread in many parts of our country, and because of which millions of people lost their lives. In 1915, Mahatma Gandhi came back from South Africa, where he fought Satyagrah for the apartheid problem. That means the skin color problem, blacks and whites problem. And the same thing he introduced in our country, and this was called Satyagrah. Now, what is the idea of Satyagrah? Satyagrah literally means holding on to truth or truth forces. According to Mahatma Gandhi, if you are fighting for the right thing, if you consider that what you are fighting for is correct, it's true, then there is no need to force or fight to the opponent. The truth will itself give you the way for the success. First three Satyagraha movements organized by Mahatma Gandhi. So in 1916, in Champaran, there was a movement for the workers in the indigo plantation. In 1917, Kheda district, Gujarat, there he organized a Satyagraha for the crop failure and plague epidemic in that area. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi started a Satyagraha in Ahmedabad for low wages and poor working condition, and for the mill workers, cotton mill workers in Ahmedabad. By these constant Satyagrahas, the Britishers were a bit fixed, and they wanted to do something to stop this kind of revolt in India, because they had already had a very bad experience in South Africa, and it was because of the Satyagraha. So in India they imposed a Rowlatt Act. Now, what was Rowlatt Act? This act gave the government the power to imprison any person without any trial for a period of 2 years. The aim of this act was to destroy the national movement by imprisoning the national workers, and this was a very bad law because it was against the basic human. Now, the Rowlatt Act was a very bad thing for our country, and to protest against it, Gandhiji organized a non-violent Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act. A hartal was organized on 6th April 1919. Rallies were conducted, shops were closed down, workers conducted strike, transport and communication system came to a standstill. These protests led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Now, what circumstances led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre? On 10th of April 1919, General Dyer was handed over the Indian country, and he imposed martial law, and to make the people understand what is martial law, on 13th of April 1919 there was a place in Amritsar which is known as, there is a place in Amritsar which is known as Jallianwala Bagh. There was a celebration of Baisakhi festival, as well as there was a public meeting which was organized to protest against the arrest of national leaders. In this area, it's a garden where is only one entry exit, and there he closed the exit and he ordered for open fire, and for 10 minutes there was an open fire and everybody was down to death. So this was a very big massacre, and so many innocent people died, which was no reason. At that time, Gandhiji has already started his non-cooperation movement, and at that time he realized that only Hindus were involved in it, because the Muslims were involved in Khilafat movement. Now, what was Khilafat movement? This movement was organized by Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. They are known as Ali brothers, and this movement was basically for the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, where the Khalifa, the Sultan of Turkey, who is considered as Khalifa, who is the main leader of the Muslim community, was his powers were curtailed by the Britishers, and this was not accepted by the Muslims of all the parts of the world. So this Khilafat movement was basically to restore his powers, which were curtailed by the Britishers. So at that time, Gandhiji understood that this is the right time that the Hindus and Muslims can be asked to shake hands and weave together, because the enemy of both the communities was the same, and that was the Britishers. So at the Calcutta session of Congress in September 1920, he convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as for Swaraj. So many Muslims joined this movement. What were the reasons for Gandhiji to launch the non-cooperation movement? First World War added to the miseries of the Indian people. Heavy taxes, high prices, famines and epidemics made people's life miserable. Second, Rowlatt Act invented large-scale protests throughout the country. Third, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre was a very bad incident. Muslims became unhappy due to the ill treatment of Turkey. They started Khilafat movement. Next, many sections of the Indian society suffered considerable economic distress. In the towns, workers and artisans, the middle class, had been hit by high prices and shortage of food and essential commodities. The rural poor and peasants were victims of widespread drought and epidemic. The British were unmindful to these developments. The Congress session at Nagpur adopted Gandhiji's the idea of non-cooperation movement, which was in 1920. What were the ideas expressed by Gandhiji in his book? So he wrote a book, Hind Swaraj, in which he mentioned a few ideas. It was written in 1909. Mahatma Gandhi declared the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians and had survived only because of this cooperation. If the Indians refused to cooperate, British rule in India would collapse within a year and Swaraj would come. Therefore, he started the cooperation movement. Now, this non-cooperation movement unfolded in stages. Renunciation of the titles. That means the first thing was that he asked that the people who had been awarded by the titles by the British government should be submitted back. So Subramanian Iyer and Rabindranath Tagore renounced the honorary title Sir that they received from the British. Gandhiji returned his Kesare-Hind medal, resigning of the important jobs. Many officers resigned their jobs, boycotted legislature. That means many people refused to cast vote when the elections to the legislature were held. If it was followed by boycott of the schools and colleges, law courts, etc. Non-payment of taxes. This was a very powerful method of fighting an oppressive government. They were not ready to recognize the government legitimity. How did non-cooperation movement become a mass movement? Non-cooperation movement was launched under Gandhiji's leadership in 1920. It aimed at protesting against the injustice done to the Punjab and Turkey and to attain Swaraj. Educated middle class led the movement into towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts, and foreign goods were boycotted. Council elections were boycotted in all provinces except in Madras, where the Justice Party of the non-Brahmins contested. Peasants organized movements against talukadars and landlords in villages under the leadership of Baba Ramchandra. Tribal people started an armed struggle in the Gunman Hills of Andhra Pradesh under the leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju. Workers in the plantations of Assam started a struggle to get the right to free movement. Chauri Chaura incident forced Gandhiji to call off the movement. What were the effects of non-cooperation movement on the economy front? The effects of non-cooperation on the economic front were more dramatical. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops picketed, and foreign clothes burnt in huge bonfires. What is picketed? That nobody was allowed to enter the shops. The import of foreign clothes halved because between 1921 and 22, its value dropping from rupees 102 crore to rupees 57 crores. In many places, merchants and traders refused to trade in foreign goods or finance foreign trade. As the boycott movement spread and people began discarding imported cloths and wearing only Indian ones, production of Indian textile mills and handlooms went up. Different strands within the non-cooperation movement in towns and cities. The educated middle class led the movement in towns and cities. Educational institutions, law courts, and the council elections were boycotted. Foreign clothes and other goods were burnt in bonfires. People began to use khadi clothes. Government servants resigned their jobs. Liquor shops were picketed. Why did the non-cooperation movement slow down in towns and cities? Khadi clothes were very costly. The poor were not able to buy them. The Indian boycotted British institutions like courts and educational institutions, but there was a lack of number in our country of the institutions which were owned by the Indian government. So because of there was no alternative for them to earn their livelihood, they were forced to go back to their offices and work for the British people. What were the causes for the peasants movement in the countryside, that is the villages? In Awadh, a peasants movement was organized by Baba Ramchandra. It was against landlords and talukadars. Reduction of rent and the abolition of begar were their main demands. In many places, Nai Thobi Bandh were organized by panchayats to deprive landlords of the services of even barber and washermen. In June 1920, Jawaharlal Nehru began going around the villages in Awadh, talking to the villagers and trying to understand their grievances. By October, the Oud Kisan Sabha was set up, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ramchand, and a few others. And within a month, over 300 branches had been set up in the villages around the region. Now, who was Baba Ramchandra? He led a peasant movement in Awadh against talukadars and landlords. He demanded reduction of rent, abolition of begar, and the boycott of landlords. In October 1920, he formed Oud Kisan Sabha with the help of Nehruji. What was tribal movement? In the Gunman Hills of Andhra Pradesh, tribals started a movement under the leadership of Alluri Sitaram Raju. Tribal wanted to get back their traditional rights over forest. Because of that time, the Britishers had imposed forest law. That means people were not allowed to enter the forest. And if we talk about tribals, their main source of all the livelihood is the forest. So they wanted to abolish this forest law. The method followed by the tribals and peasants were against the Gandhian methods of non-violence. They followed violent method of struggle. That was guerrilla warfare. Who was Alluri Sitaram Raju? He led a movement of tribal people in the Gunman Hills of Andhra Pradesh. Many people considered him as an incarnation of God. They believed that he had many special powers. He used to say that if he will be shot by a gun, he will not die because of it, because he had that kind of powers. He supported Gandhiji and asked his followers to wear khadi and stop drinking, but he organized an armed struggle against the Britishers. Now, movement in the plantations. Plantations are the places where tea gardens and all these kind of things happen. So in that time, the Britishers never allowed the people who were staying in the plantation to go back to their villages. They were constrained, or they were forced to remain in the plantation throughout the day, throughout the night. So they wanted to be free from that estates. They opposed the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, which took away the right of free movement. When they heard about the non-cooperation movement, they moved to their villages. They thought that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their villages. However, they were caught and brought back because the railways were not working, so they had no other, and the transportation was also withheld because they were not cooperating with the British government. So because of that, there was no source of transportation for them, and in lack of this transportation facility, they were caught by the Britishers and they were thrown back to the plantation. Withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement because the movement became violent in some places. In February 1922, in Chauri Chaura, which is near Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh, people turned violent and set fire to a police station. 22 policemen were killed in this incident. Gandhiji was against violence. The movement slowed down in urban areas. He thought that it was necessary to train the people in non-violent satyagraha. So what is the significance of non-cooperation movement? Non-cooperation movement was a large-scale mass movement. It attracted common people from all social groups. Non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement went together, so they promoted Hindu-Muslim unity. Peasants and tribals movements became a part of the Indian national movement. It was a non-violent movement, so it popularized the Gandhian idea of non-violent satyagraha. Give examples to prove that the term Swaraj means different thing to different people. That means they were struggling against Britishers, but the drive to struggle against Britishers was different. But they all had the same villain for them, and because of that they were all together. The first example is the term Swaraj means self-rule or domination status for the dominion status for the Congress people. It is the type of government granted by the British in other self-governing colonies of Australia and Canada. To peasants in Awadh, Swaraj means reduction in tax, abolition of begar or forced labor, and social boycott of oppressive landlords. To the plantation worker, Swaraj means to go back to their homeland. To tribals in Goodman Hills, it was to get their forest life back. With what aim was the Swaraj Party set up? Swaraj Party, or the Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, was set up by Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das in 1923. They were tired of mass struggle and wanted to participate in elections to provincial councils that had been set up by the Government of India Act of 1919. They felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the council, argue for reforms, and also demonstrate that these councils were not truly democratic. They also wanted to keep the anti-British spirit of the people alive since non-cooperation movement was suspended. Trace two major developments in the Indian politics towards the late 1920s, or what were the two factors that shaped Indian politics towards the late 1920s. The first was the effect of worldwide economic depression. Agriculture prices began to fall from 1926 and collapse after 1930 as the demand for agricultural goods fell and exports declined. Peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay their revenues. Another was the Simon Commission. It was appointed and came to India in February 1928. It was appointed to look into the working of the Government of India Act of 1919 and to suggest further reforms in the system of administration. The members of the commission were all Englishmen and not a single Indian was included in it. It led to the Simon to go back agitation because people were not happy that a commission is being set up which was supposed to work for the betterment of the Indian community, but it had no person who was from India. So they wanted that this commission should go back, and they never allowed it to enter the cities also. So as the agitation was growing day by day, the British government was now in a condition that they understood that they had to give something to the to the Indians, so that they stop revolting in this harsh manner. So the Viceroy Lord Irwin announced in October 1929 a vague offer of dominion status, which means that there will be people from India who will govern their country, but under the guidance of the Queen. This was not accepted by the Indians. Discuss the significance of the Congress session in 1929 in the freedom struggle of India. The Lahore session of Indian National Congress of 1929 was held under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru. The two important decisions taken were the following. First, the attainment of complete independence. It was declared in this session that the chief goal of the Indian National Congress was the attainment of complete independence, Purna Swaraj. ठीक है? They said that they are not going to accept the offer of dominion status. It was decided to launch the civil disobedience movement under the leadership of Gandhiji to get the complete independence. It was decided in this session to celebrate 26th January as the Independence Day all over the country. Because of its significance, the same day was chosen as the Republic Day of India. Letter to the Viceroy Irwin. On 31st January 1930, Gandhiji sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating 11 demands. The most stirring of all was the demand to abolish the salt law. This letter was kind of ultimatum. If demands were not fulfilled by 11th March, the letter stated that the Congress would launch the civil disobedience movement. Salt March या Salt Satyagraha. Gandhiji decided to inaugurate the civil disobedience movement by breaking the salt law. Gandhiji and 78 of his followers started a march on foot from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. It is a coastal area in Gujarat. On 6th April 1929, they reached Dandi. Gandhiji prepared salt by using sea water, broke the salt law, and inaugurated the movement. The government imposed heavy taxes on salt. Moreover, the production of salt was the monopoly of the government, so the prices of salt was very high. Therefore, Gandhiji opposed the salt law. Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Worried by the developments, the colonial government began arresting the Congress leaders. Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Mahatma Gandhi himself got arrested, which provoked people to agitate. The frightened government responded with a policy of brutal suppression. In such a situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off the movement and entered into a pact with Irwin on 5th March 1931. By this, Gandhiji consented to attend the Round Table Conference in London, but it failed. The main features of the civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji led a march on foot from Sabarmati to Dandi. He broke the salt law at Dandi and inaugurated the movement. People broke salt law in many places. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, government servants resigned their jobs, forest law were broken, people refused to pay taxes, leaders were arrested, workers attacked government offices. Gandhiji called off the movement on 5th March 1931 under the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. He agreed to attend the second roundtable conference. It was restarted when Gandhiji returned from London. It was finally called off in 1934. Differences between non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. The basic difference between non-cooperation and civil disobedience movement is that in non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji requested people not to cooperate with the government. That means they were asked not to help the Britishers to stay in India. But in civil disobedience movement, they started breaking laws. So this is the main difference between the non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. Social groups which participated in civil disobedience movement were rich peasants, poor peasants, business class, industrial workers. Rich peasants wanted that their the depression, because of depression the prices were fell down, and they demanded reduction in land revenue. Poor peasants wanted reduction in rent and depression, because depression affected them badly also. Business class demanded protection against the import of foreign goods, and they wanted a rupee sterling exchange rate that would discourage imports. Industrial workers, they were poorly paid, condition of working was very miserable, so they wanted that their conditions should be improved. Why did the different social groups join the civil disobedience movement? In countryside, the rich peasants communities like Jats of UP and Patidars of Gujarat were active in the movement. Indian merchants and industrialists wanted protection against import of the foreign goods and a rupee sterling exchange foreign exchange ratio, so that they could discourage imports. What was the women's participation? Another important feature of civil disobedience movement was the large-scale participation of women. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their houses to listen to him. They participated in the protest, marches, manufactured salt, and even went to the jails. So, in this way, we can understand that the women had full attention towards what Gandhiji was saying, and they participated with wholeheartedly in all the struggles which were organized by Gandhiji. Why did the rich peasant communities join the civil disobedience movement? Why did not they join when it was relaunched? First of all, they wanted that being producers of commercial crops, they were very hard hit by the trade depression and falling prices. As their cash income disappeared, they found it impossible to pay the government revenues demanded. So, the refusal of government to reduce the revenue demanded led to the widespread resentment. These rich peasants were active in organizing their communities and at times forcing reluctant members to participate in the boycott programs. For them, the fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high revenues, but they were deeply disappointed when the movement was called off in 1931 without revenue rates were being revised. So, in 1932, when it was restarted, they were not interested in joining it. Why did not the poor peasants join the civil disobedience movement? Why was the relationship between the poor peasants and the Congress remained uncertain during the civil disobedience movement? The poor peasant wanted to lower down the revenues. They wanted that the revenues which were imposed on them could be abolished, but due to violence, the civil disobedience movement was called off without taking care of these poor peasants. So when and the Congress was Congress never wanted them to support, because they never wanted to upset the rich peasants and landlords, because if they would have abolished the rent or revenues, then it would have hampered the earnings of the rich peasants, and this was not, or the landlords, and this was not accepted by the landlords. So they never wanted to support these poor peasants, and because of that, the relationship between the peasants and the the Congress always bad. Why did the business class supported the civil disobedience movement? Why did the industrial working class not participate in civil disobedience in large number? So Indian merchants and industrialists wanted protection against import of the foreign goods, and the foreign exchange of rupees sterling should be there, so that the imports could be discouraged. They wanted to end colonial control over Indian economy. Most businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist, and the trade and industry would flourish without constraints. As the industrialists came closer to the Congress, workers stayed aloof. The Congress was reluctant to include workers' demand as part of its program of the struggle. It felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces. How did the Indian merchants and industrialists protect their interests? To organize business interests, they formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, that is FICCI, in 1927. Led by prominent industrialists like Purushottam Das Thakurdas and G.D. Birla, the industrialists attacked colonial control over the Indian economy and supported the civil disobedience movement. When it was first launched, they gave financial assistance and refusal to buy or sell the imported goods. Describe the participation of women in the civil disobedience movement. An important feature of the civil disobedience movement was the large-scale participation of the women. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen him. They participated in protest marches, manufactured salt, and picketed foreign cloth and liquor shops. Many went to jail. In urban areas, these women were from high caste families. In rural areas, they came from rich peasant households. Moved by Gandhiji's call, they began to see services to the nation as a sacred duty of the. Now, why did the participation of women in large number in the movements not bring any radical change in the position of the Indian women? Though they participated a lot, they went on up to any extent for the unification and for the betterment of our country. Still, the position of the women was not very much important, and nobody knew about their rights and everything. The reason is, Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after home and health, be good mothers and good wives. And for a long time, the Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. It was keen only on their symbolic presence. So basically, be Gandhiji, be the Congress, everybody had this notion in their mind that women are better at home. They are good for as a mother. They are very much necessary for grooming of the family. So it is very much necessary that women should remain inside their houses and they should not come out of their houses for struggle like freedom struggle. Now, main contribution of the civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience movement was the first struggle to win Purna Swaraj or complete independence. It was based on non-violence satyagraha. Gandhian ideas were widely followed. Women participation in large number in this movement. It was a real mass movement. Different social groups participated, as we have already discussed them. It was an open challenge to the British rule. The people openly disobeyed the laws, and this was a signal for the Britishers that now things are not in their hand anymore, and the Indians will no doubt attain their Purna Swaraj. Main limitations of the civil disobedience movement. Well, everything has some positive and some negative points. So what were the negative points or the limitations of this movement? Dalits did not participate in the civil disobedience movement because the Congress did not give importance to their demands. Many Muslims did not participate in it. They thought that the Congress was moving close to the Hindu Mahasabha. Communal riots occurred in many places. Disunity between Hindu and Muslims started. Industrial workers' participation was minimum, and we have already discussed why as Congress was more towards the big industrialists and they ignored the problems of the small workers, so they never participated in civil disobedience movement. If we talk about Muslims, if we talk about the Khilafat movement, after that there were many courses in the lifetime where the Congress was supporting the Hindu parties or Hindu people as they thought, as the Muslims thought, and there they thought that in this way the Muslims were being giving back seats. So that is why they were not that much enthusiastically participating in civil disobedience movement. Efforts made by Gandhiji for the upliftment of Dalits. Now Gandhiji understood that if we talk about India as a whole, we cannot ignore a section of the society which are very important, because without unity you cannot achieve anything. So Gandhiji was against untouchability. He said that Swaraj would not come for 100 years if untouchability was not abolished. He called the untouchables Harijan or son of gods. He organized satyagrah to get temple entry and access to public wells, tanks, roads and schools for Dalits. He cleaned Harijan colonies, and in this and his ashram there was no caste feelings. He asked the upper caste Hindus to give up the inhuman practice of untouchability. Even he went to the places and washed toilets to show people that how high work they are doing, how noble work they are doing. If they are cleaning the society, that is the most important thing. Being a very big personality, even then you need your toilets to be cleaned. So if they are doing for you, this is a very noble thing, and you must respect their duty. That is their duty, that is their part of their job. So you cannot bifurcate them from the society or separate them from the society just merely that they do such kind of activities. Gandhiji versus Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, demanded separate electorates for the Dalits. He thought that a share in political power would help in their upliftment. Gandhiji opposed separate electorates. He thought that it would create disunity. So they clashed in second roundtable conference. Now, Pune Pact. This is very important, and it comes in your paper several times. So listen it very carefully. It was signed between Gandhiji and Ambedkar in September 1932. Gandhiji brought an end to his past. He accepted the demand for reservation for seats for Dalit in the legislature. Ambedkar agreed to give up the demand for separate electorates. So as Gandhiji saw that Ambedkar ji was always there to say behind that he wanted separate electorate in the elections from the Dalit community, and he wanted that the voting right should be given for that Dalit candidate for the Dalit people only. Matlab Dalit candidate will be voted by the Dalit people. So on this Gandhiji was very much reluctant, because he wanted that everybody should be held equal in front of eyes in the law. So he wanted that everybody should be equal. There should not be like there a separate candidate of Dalit, then separate candidate of Muslims, then separate candidate of Hindu. So that is why Gandhiji went on a fast. It was getting worse. His health was deteriorating day by day. So by end of the day, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar left his this demand of separate electorate, and Gandhiji also accepted it. He said, okay, you will have a separate seat for your Dalit candidate, but the voting will be unanimous. That is, everybody all over India, people will give the vote so that they can come in the mainstream. Cultural factors and identities which created a sense of collective belongingness among the people of India. Since ages, India is being attacked, looted, and people from different area came and settled here. So everybody had common background, but they never used to discuss it, because somewhere it was Marathas, somewhere it was Mughal, somewhere it was Khilji dynasty. So it was like that people had their belongingness, but they were not collectively. So Bankim Chand Chattopadhyay created an image of Bharat Mata. Abhirnath Tagore painted her image. Bharat Mata looked like a sannyasini. She is calm, divine and spiritual. Devotion towards her became a proof of nationalism. So it was efforts by the people to make people realize that they belong to the same country and they have their same backgrounds, and so they must work upon their independence from the Britishers as a whole. This is the image of Bharat Mata, which was painted by Mr. Tagore. Vande Mataram, it was a prayer to Bharat Mata written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Vande Mataram became the war cry of the Indians. It was later included in his novel Anand Mat. You can see this image. National flag. During the Swadeshi movement, a tricolor flag which had red, green and yellow was developed. It had 8 lotus representing the 8 provinces of the British India. It also had crescent moon which represented Hindu and Muslims. In 1921, Gandhiji designed the Swaraj flag. It was also a tricolor, red, green and white. It had a spinning wheel which represented the Gandhian idea of self-help. The flag became a symbol of nation. It created the feeling of oneness. The people carried flag in protest marches and rallies. You can see the two flags. One is Vande Mataram with crescent. And the 8 lotuses which were representing the 8 provinces of our country, and the second one is designed by Mahatma Gandhi, in which it has a charka in it which shows self-help. So in this way you can understand how the feeling of nationalism created people unity, belongingness, and we were independent from the clutches of Britishers after 200 years. Rediscovering of India's past. The British considered Indians backward and primitive. They said that the Indians were not capable of ruling themselves. In the 19th century, some educated Indians started efforts of rediscovering India's great achievements. They rediscovered the achievements made by the Indians in art, architecture, science, mathematics, religion, culture, law, philosophy, crafts and trades. Knowledge about the great achievements of Indians created national pride, self-confidence and patriotism among the Indians. And this was a way to understand that we belong to such a rich background and we are from the same background and we are Indians. The folklores of the southern India. The folklores are the lok kathai, which generally people say with their when they are talking with their kids or they are discussing something from their past. So these folklores also helped a lot to create belongingness. Nationalists toured to village to collect the folk songs and legends. Rabindranath Tagore collected a number of folk songs and legends. In Madras, Natesa Sastry published a 4-volume collection of Tamil folk tales, the folklores of southern India. The folk songs and legends gave a true picture of Indian culture. They showed their all thoughts and characteristics of Indians. They created national pride among the people, and hence it was again an effort that make people realize that they belong to the same country, they have the same motherland, and they have to work for their betterment in a collective manner.